this statement you just gave, that we can only know if these laws that we have are effective after we undertake some kind of research, finding out those people who have undergone a rehabilitation, how they are coping up in life, and so on. I want to find out if at all, as Laz, you know the numbers of the private and public institutions that are doing the rehabilitation of the victims of drug and alcohol abuse, apart from just the main one that you know as Chainama and so on. If you know these, and how accessible and affordable are they to an average Zambian? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, witness. You can proceed to deal with those two concerns.
Mr. Blythe, thank you so much for those questions. To begin with the first question, are the current laws enough? I would say that the current laws are much better in terms of solving the problem than the previous laws that we had, because the previous laws that we had only spoke to the punitive aspect and the deterrence aspect, but they did not look at the end user, because supply and demand, if there is no demand on the market, then the problem would reduce. So the current laws that we have actually go to the core of the issue, and what they seek to do is to rehabilitate the drug-dependent person so that the demand for the drug supply reduces. Why I said that we do not know the impact that it would have as yet, because looking at the face of the law itself, I would say that the laws are sufficient, but in order to know how the laws interact with our society as well, and because you could put a law, but if it does not actually, if it's not really being enforced and enforceable, then there is a problem there, no matter how perfect the law is. So this is a new frontier in which we're entering into, the issue of really focusing in on the rehabilitation of even persons convicted especially. So that's why I say that they are sufficient as they seem on paper, but it's a matter of interacting the law with the end user and with the institutions that implement, and capacity building those enforcement officers and the like. So it's quite a complex interplay between the law and society that we really need to really need to manage in order to guide the problem out of it being a problem, I would say. I hope I sort of answered your question to some extent. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. As regards the second question regarding private and public institutions and which provide services of treatment and rehabilitation and how affordable they are, I have heard of two private institutions. I've just forgotten the names currently, that undertake rehabilitation, and of course the public institutions as well are mandated to do that. But in terms of personnel and proper outreach into the society, I really haven't seen them getting down into the ground and being able to interact with the most vulnerable groups, and because you need that the accessibility to these services, because there might be somebody that needs these services, but because of the lack of awareness that is given to the needy groups, then we have challenges as regards treatment and rehabilitation, and especially that the ones that I really know are doing the work are private institutions. The cost factor, as you mentioned, also comes into play, you know. So I think we still have a lot of work to do in that regard to actually bring these treatment centers very close to the ground and to the actual people that need it. For instance, maybe 2 in Chibolia or something like that, and all these other areas that are really heavy on the drug dependencies. So that would be really helpful if we could achieve that. And once we achieve that, and then we can assess what more we can do. I hope I answered the question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Law Association of Zambia, for your submission. We value it. As we come towards the end of our interaction, I want it just remains.
I have a contribution, Chair.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Feel free.
Thank you, honorable members. And just to add on what my colleague has stated, on the question by Honorable Banda on issues of laws. Well, Zambia on the international market has very good laws. When we go to countries like Malawi, South Africa, and other countries like Mozambique, they actually admire our work and our laws on paper. We go hand to hand with countries that enforce very good laws, such as Kenya. So our laws are very good on paper. What derails us is the implementation of the laws. So with regards to drug abuse in Zambia, we have DEC, the Drug Enforcement Commission, which executes their role very well. But then what we need to be talking about is DEC having enough resource, human resource, financial resource to combat the challenges that we have on drug abuse? And if the answer is yes, do they provide the services adequately for the entire country, looking at all the provinces that we have in Zambia? At this point as a country, we have enough laws that can combat drug abuse, but we shouldn't start looking at combating drug abuse when it has already happened. We should start also looking at the prevention processes. As the German, when we were doing our research, we made reference to Germany, which have a very good drug enforcement policies. So we should also extend our actions to prevention, so that if we need to finance DEC more, or we need to empower DEC more as the government to offer its support to carry out its mandate, this is the right time that we have to do so, in order for us to talk about how we can combat drug abuse, which is already happening. They have the statistics of how many are already on drugs. So those statistics will be more if we do not start the prevention process, because other people will be influenced to start the abuse. Hence, as we combat on the people who are already abusing these drugs, we should also look to prevent the drug abuse. Then going on to the question of Honorable Alex about the numbers of public and private institutions that provide such services. Well, the mere fact that only Chainama comes to our minds in this very room, even if there are other institutions, already those statistics are worrying. So we need more facilities. We cannot overemphasize on this point as Laz. Private institutions might be there, but the financial implication of private institutions, those people are looking at profit and not just delivering a service because they are humanly kind. They're looking to make more ends meet. But when the government makes an institution such as Chainama, they're looking at helping the actual people, the end users, without getting any profit. So it is our call to the government that we have 10 provinces in the country, and Chainama is just in Osaka. We need, in as much as I know that hospitals do provide these services, when a patient goes there, they'll provide the care, but we need a lot of Chainamas. We need a lot of facilities that can provide rehabilitation centers, so that as we also combat this drug abuse on laws, we have the implementation processes in actual facilities in practice. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. Kataku, you want a second bite on the chair, please, okay?
Thank you. From your presentation, I think you have provoked my mind. You've talked about, we have very good laws, but then to me, you are indicating that poor outcome. So as laws, meaning you have identified the gap. So this is a challenge to you, which you should take advantage of. From your statement, meaning Zambia's got very good laws, admirable by other nations, but when it comes to the outcome, the implementation, we seem to have a gap. And partially you talk about DEC, do they have this and that? Now, would you probably undertake an evidence-based research to find out what this gap is all about? Is it due to capacity of the implementers, or human resource, finance, technology, autonomy, political will, or what exactly? So that you're able to inform this nation that yes, in as much as we have these good laws, we are not performing well in terms of the implementation because of these things that you should have found out as evidence, and then provide the remedy for such kind of good laws but poor outcome. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
And comment on that.
Thank you very much.
Less than 2 minutes.
Not a problem, Chair. Thank you very much, Doc. As laws under the Section 4 mandate of the Law Association of Zambia Act, where we are mandated to also research and impact on the development of laws, we will be happy with if you can accord us that opportunity to do a further research on the differentials on what the gap is, because that was not the contention of these submissions. But now that you've brought up a new issue of mandating us to investigate on what the gaps are with regards to the laws that we have on drug abuse, and with regards to what solutions we can do to combat that gap, we'll be happy to make a submission in due course on whether you can give us a time frame on which we need to do that as LAS. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Maybe just to add, because I noted your submission on where the gap is, because I've handled a number of drug-related matters to do with both adults and juveniles as well. And as regards juveniles, where I see, for instance, a juvenile is appearing in court, I see a wide gap in terms of facilitation of the role of social welfare officers, and even the number of social welfare officers available, to just handle the issues to do with children, who are in drug-influenced or affected places. A child could be appearing in court, and for the entire duration of that matter, we haven't received the social welfare report because maybe there's just 1 or 2 social welfare officers available, and there are 100 cases to do with juveniles. So in terms of enforcement, I think that is really the area where we are having challenges, to have these go-between people, between the communities and the entities and institutions themselves. So I think that's one of the areas where we can really, if we can offer support, then that would be really helpful in bridging the gap.
Thank you so much, the Law Association of Zambia.
Thank you.
We value your contribution, and we value your partnership with the National Assembly of Zambia. We benefit a lot from your input. It just remains for me to thank you once again and wish you well, and inform you that we've come to the end of our deliberation, and as per procedure, I have to remove the immunity that I conferred upon you, so that you can go lighter and enjoy the greater immunity as provided for in our Republican Constitution as citizens. So it is now my honor and privilege to have that honor of once again withdraw the immunity and allow you to walk freely and participate in the governance of this country through the provision of the legal framework that helps to sharpen our society. Once again, thank you so much, Lars.
Thank you so much. It was a huge pleasure appearing before all of you. My first appearance, so definitely extra special.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members. We beg to leave.
Thank you. Good morning, witness. You are welcome to the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Affairs, where we are looking at the topical issue of drug and substance abuse in Zambia by our youth, and we value your position in society as the institution that is mandated with the correction service. So we are delighted to have you, and we shall begin our interaction with you. We shall give you maximum 10 minutes to speak to your written memoranda, and we shall, maybe because we've just submitted, we'll give you 15 minutes. No, it's not a big document. 10 minutes. You speak to your written memoranda to raise certain issues, and then we shall have maximum 15 minutes for you to interact with the honorable members of parliament on the points of clarification that they may wish to clarify. Therefore, before we proceed, I would invite that we know each other by asking you to begin the introduction. Then we shall ask the honorable members of parliament to introduce themselves. Then after that, we will proceed with the submission, but before I will confer immunity on you so that you can speak without fear of any reprisal. Then please, you can proceed and introduce yourselves.
Most grateful, Chair. My full name is Wada Kulomba. I'm Deputy Commissioner General, Zambia Correctional Service. Allow me also to invite my colleagues to...
Yes, we want to hear their voices. Let them introduce themselves. They are officers.
Good morning to the chairperson. Good morning, the panel. I am Doreen Ngoma. I am in charge of corrections.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Talent Ndenda, Assistant Commissioner, Head of Legal Department, Zambia Correctional Service.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Kifita Divino, Assistant Commissioner, Reformatory Superintendent.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Peter Tembo, Senior Superintendent, Legal Counsel, Zambia Correctional Service.
Thank you. Then we shall also begin by my far left honorable members of parliament as a way of introduction.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Correctional Services. My name is Jean Chisenga, Member of Parliament for Mambilimo Constituency, Nopla Province, and a member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome witness.
Banda Creo, Member of Parliament for Vubu in the Eastern Province and a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Correction Services. I'm Honorable Dr. Alex Katakwe, Member of Parliament for Solwezi East Constituency, Mushindamo District, Northwestern Province. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, witness. My name is Monasha Bantu Imelda, Member of Parliament for Mapatizia constituency. Mapatizia is in Zambia District of Southern Province, and I'm the Vice Chairperson of the committee. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Deputy Commissioner General and the team. My name is Evans Chilongo from the Office of the Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, witness. Once again, my full names are Ronald K. Chitotela, a Member of Parliament for Pambashe constituency in Wapra Province, Kawamba District to be in particular. Then witness, by cricketers of my friends have been made to chair this committee. Witness, you are conferred according to the parliamentary procedure when a witness is appearing before a committee to allow them to speak. According to Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, you are conferred with immunity, that whatever submission you make before this committee cannot be used anywhere in the court of law or on any legal constituted tribunal within the Republic of Zambia. But should you choose to deliberately mislead this committee, the same Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia may be turned against you and may be used against you in the legal constituted tribunal or within the jurisdiction of Zambia. But we have every confidence that you will not choose to deliberately mislead this committee, bearing in mind that you are a professional body. You make your submission based on evidence and on the issues that you have been interacting with. Therefore, we invite you, Deputy Commissioner General, to make your submission and speak to your written memoranda which you have submitted before this committee. Please, you can proceed and make your oral submission.
Most grateful, the chairperson, sir. To start with, let me thank you for giving us an opportunity as Zambia Correctional Service to appear before this honorable committee and submit on drug and substance abuse among youths in Zambia. To start with, the chairperson, sir, the honorable members of the committee, let me first address the adequacy of the policy and legal framework supporting programs against drugs and substance abuse among the youths in Zambia. To start with, the adequacy of the policy and legal framework supporting programs against drug and substance abuse among the youths in Zambia is a critical issue that requires careful consideration. While Zambia has established policies and laws aimed at combating drug abuse, it is important to assess the effectiveness of these measures in addressing the root causes of the problem. This would involve evaluating the accessibility and availability of the drug treatment programs, as well as the level of funding and support provided by the government and other key stakeholders. It would also be important to identify any gaps or areas that require improvement and to develop strategies that are tailored to the specific needs of the youth population. The chairperson, sir, there are several programs aimed at addressing drugs and substance abuse among youths in Zambia. One such program is the Zambia Substance Abuse Prevention Association, which focuses on providing education and awareness about the dangers of drug use, as well as offering counseling and support to young people who may be struggling with addiction. Another program is the one done by the Zambia Police, which is the anti-drug abuse campaign, This aims to increase awareness about drug use and its negative effects, as well as promote drug-free lifestyle. Additionally, the chairperson, sir, there is a Christian organization called Alliance for Orphans program, which also support and care for children who have been affected by substance abuse, and several other examples. The one that we collaborate with specifically as Zambia Correctional Service, apart from what I've mentioned, is the DEC, which I think has been very instrumental in what they call the Youth Initiative. This program aims to raise awareness about drug abuse and provide education and training to young people on how to resist peer pressure to engage in drug use. These programs are just but a few examples of the efforts being made to combat drug abuse among youths in Zambia. We also wish to report to this committee that Zambia Correctional Service has over the years collaborated, as earlier stated, with DEC in the sensitization of the dangers of drug abuse, both to officers and inmates. The sensitization has been conducted through workshops and training programs. The Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substance Act number 35 of 2021 and the Dangerous Drug Act chapter 95 are the two pieces of legislation that support programs against drug abuse in Zambia. The Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substance Act number 35 of 2021 is an act that provides for the Drug Enforcement Commission to revise and consolidate the laws relating to drugs and precursor chemicals to provide for special measures relating to the prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of victims of drug abuse. The chairperson, sir, the Dangerous Drug Act, Chapter 95, is an act to control the importation, exportation, production, possession, sale, distribution, and use of dangerous drugs. With regard to the adequacy of the policy supporting programs against drugs and substance abuse among the youths in Zambia, the Zambian government has developed the National Drug Policy to address the issue of drug and substance abuse among youths in the country. The policy outlines a comprehensive strategy that involves prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. The strategy includes the following key components. The first component is prevention. The policy emphasizes the need for prevention programs that target youths and their families. These programs focus on promoting healthy lifestyle, positive peer pressure, and community involvement. The policy also calls for promotion of alternative activities such as sports, music, and other recreational activities. Treatment. The policy emphasizes the importance of providing accessible and affordable treatment for those affected by drug and substance abuse. The treatment should be provided by trained professionals in a safe and supportive environment. The policy also calls for the use of evidence-based interventions and therapies. The chairperson, sir, I also talk about rehabilitation and reintegration. The policy advocates for the development of rehabilitation and reintegration programs that focuses on helping those affected by drug abuse to reintegrate into society. The programs provide life skills training, education and vocational training to help them become productive members of the society. The policy also emphasizes the need for collaboration among various stakeholders, including government agencies, non-governmental organizations, community leaders, parents, and schools. It also calls for the development of monitoring and evaluation system to assess the effectiveness of the policy and make necessary adjustments. With this policy, Zambia is taking a proactive approach to address the issue of drug and substance abuse among youths in the country, as observed by the Zambia Correctional Service. I also want to report to you, Chair, that several rehabilitation centers in Zambia provide treatment and support to individuals struggling with drug and substance abuse. Amongst the several, I would want to single out Chainama Hills Hospital, which I'm very sure you're aware that it's a government-run hospital that provides mental health and substance abuse services to individuals in Zambia. The hospital offers inpatient and outpatient rehabilitation services, including detoxification, counseling, and medication-assisted treatment. There are several others, as highlighted in the report, that are also involved. Number two, Chairperson, I would want to also address the measures the government has put in place to address drug and substance abuse among the youths in Zambia. The government has taken significant steps to address the issue of drug and substance abuse among the youth population. These measures include the creation of a comprehensive national policy on drug, as earlier stated, and substance abuse, the establishment of the rehabilitation centers, and the formation of community-based support groups. Furthermore, the government is running effective drug awareness campaigns, particularly in schools and universities, to educate the youth about the dangers of drug and substance abuse. Also, the law enforcement agencies have been given more power to combat drug-related offenses, and the penalties for drug trafficking and possession have been increased. These measures, the Chairperson, are an indication of the government's commitment to reducing drug abuse among youths and promoting a healthier lifestyle in Zambia. I also want to comment or appreciate the role of the state and non-state actors in combating drug and substance abuse. The fight against drugs and substance abuse relies heavily on the participation of both state and non-state actors. The state policies and programs are vital in preventing drug abuse, providing treatment and rehabilitation services to those affected, and enforcing laws to curb drug trafficking. Non-state actors, the Chairperson, such as NGOs, community-based organizations, and religious groups, play a significant role in creating awareness, providing support to drug users, and advocating for policy change. By collaborating, these actors can address the root causes of drug abuse, promote education and awareness, and provide resources and support to those affected, ultimately leading to a drug-free society. I would also want to submit the challenges faced in combating drug and substance abuse among the youth in Zambia as observed by our institution. Drug and substance abuse among the youths in Zambia is a serious problem that requires urgent attention, as earlier indicated. Several challenges hinder efforts to combat this issue. For instance, The lack of adequate resources, including funding, trained personnel, and equipment, makes it difficult to provide effective prevention and treatment services. Additionally, the stigma associated with drug and substance abuse often discourages young people from seeking help, leading to increased health risk and social isolation. Finally, the lack of a comprehensive data on the extent of the problem makes it challenging to develop targeted interventions that can address the root causes of drug and substance abuse among young people. The last part, the chairperson and members of the committee, I would want to highlight the recommendations on the way forward in addressing the vice of drug and substance abuse in the country. The first recommendation is increase in funding and resources towards prevention and treatment programs. The government and other stakeholders should allocate more resources towards the development and implementation of effective preventive and treatment programs. This includes funding for research, training of personnel, and provision of adequate equipment and facilities. The second recommendation, the chairperson, sir, is conduct comprehensive research to generate accurate data. Targeted research is essential in understanding the nature and extent of drug and substance abuse among young people. This data can help develop evidence-based intervention that can address the root cause of the problem. The third recommendation is to promote awareness and reduce stigma. Public awareness campaigns can help reduce the stigma associated with the drug and substance abuse. This can encourage young people to seek help and support without fear of discrimination or social isolation. The fourth recommendation is to encourage community involvement. Community-based initiatives such as support groups and outreach programs can help to create a supportive environment for young people struggling with drug and substance abuse. It is essential to involve families, schools, and religious institutions in efforts to combat the issue. The last but not the least, chairperson, is to strengthen law enforcement efforts. Law enforcement agencies should work closely with other stakeholders to curb the supply and distribution of drugs and other substances. This includes the provision of training and equipment to enhance their capacity to detect and intercept illegal drugs and substances. By implementing these recommendations, stakeholders can work together to address the issue of drug and substance abuse among young people in Zambia effectively. I submit the chairpersons.
Thank you very much, Your Witness. Honorable members, any points of clarification, interactions? Yes, Chair.
Thank you. There has been a growing concern, Witness, among the citizens of Zambia that correction service must pray the law of correction service. But of late we see younger ones, after passing through your facility, they come out as addicts. Yes. Others, instead of reformatory, I don't know, the role of Katombora is playing, or is it because of mixing the younger ones together with the adults that the drugs find its way within the vicinity of correction facilities? How do you interpret in terms of correcting and making sure that we mitigate the drug and substance abuse among our youth who are the future deputy commissioners and commissioners of tomorrow after passing through your facilities, instead of playing the role of correction. Others come out as hardcores, and they begin supplying drugs to those that they could have left within the facilities of correctional service.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Honorable. We'll take 3 questions. And please let us we have another witness. Let us keep it brief and to the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think, and thank you, witness, for the submission. I would wish to take you to your recommendation 2, where you are saying that there is need to have comprehensive research to generate accurate data. Now, I just want to find out who do you think should undertake such a research? Who do you have in mind to undertake such type of research? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable.
Well, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Let me also introduce myself. My name is Honorable George Chisanga, Member of Parliament for Lukasha constituency. Chair, I'm sitting in 2 committees at the same time, so I was on the other committee. I want to quickly take issue with the final recommendation from Zambia Correctional Services on the targeting law enforcement efforts in combating drug abuse by children. I take the general view that we are very liberal in how we target the drug traffickers and those who peddle in these drugs. And we seem to concentrate very much on assisting the victims. I take the view that if this approach has not worked, what would you recommend should be the strengths we have to put in the law targeted at drug traffickers, not abusers? I say so because if you've carried out examples with I think countries that are called tiger economies, like Thailand, Malaysia, and elsewhere, where they have got very stiff laws against drug trafficking, and they let the whole world know that if you go into those countries and participate in drug trafficking, the penalties are so harsh that those countries have succeeded to an extent in fighting drug abuse. Why are we so liberal in dealing with traffickers, and we are paying too much attention to rehabilitating those who use drugs? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, let's take those 3. Our witness.
Most grateful, the chairperson. I'll start with the first observation or question. Zambia Correctional Service, as you are aware, is just an institution that has just moved from a punitive institution to a correctional institution. And I wish to inform this august committee that since the switch to correctional service, we have now tried to prioritize rehabilitation of the inmates as compared to what was there then. And so, just maybe to highlight to this committee that there are a lot of programs that have been put in place. Our approach now is that incarceration itself is punishment and not for punishment. So at the point an inmate comes through our facilities, we have what we call the offender management section. This offender management section will identify the needs that we need to concentrate on in order for us to assist this inmate before reintegration back into society. So within the correctional setup, once we identify that this particular inmate has an issue to do with drug-related issues, we are able to collaborate with other sister departments, in this case the DEC, which is quite instrumental in ensuring that they assist us because they have got an effective program. They're the ones that are mandated to assist in ensuring that we assist this individual. And apart from that, we have become very radical in terms of the provision of the skills training, because most of these that are coming from the larger society and have issues of drug-related issues, we've realized that the education levels are quite low, and they were engaged in those aspects because of lack of a lot of issues to handle whilst they were outside. So once we identify, we are able to place them in the specific group. For instance, those that are able to do the skills training, we will keep them active, at the same time emphasize on the negative effects of being engaged in a vice that has been identified. So, Honorable, the chairperson, I would want to state that the switch to correctional service has been timely, whilst you also need to appreciate that we are still using the same infrastructure that was built for punishment, unlike what is supposed to be a correctional setup. So with that infrastructure around, we are still trying by all means to make sure that our approach is more on the rehabilitation. I'll also allow my colleagues maybe to add a comment on the same before I conclude.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would love to just make an addition based on the first question where you had indicated to say, why is it that when somebody goes into a correctional facility, the society is expected that person to come out as a rehabilitated person? I will particularly align myself to juveniles. The chairperson, sir, I do agree, yes, dealing with a human mind is very difficult. But Zambia Correctional Service has put in programs, as the boss has indicated, that aims at rehabilitating these. However, I would want to mention the positive part of those programs, because we do have juveniles that have passed through our hands and they have become, well, good citizens. One of them is the ex-juvenile who is actually pursuing his law degree at University of Zambia. That juvenile was actually under his hand, but he's now completing his law degree. And we have successful juveniles that have actually been employed in some companies that do fabrication and carpentry. However, of course, we cannot run away from the fact that there are some that would try to rehabilitate, but we don't just manage to make sure that they are rehabilitated completely. I wish to submit that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. You want to add some?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they are responsible for
sure.
rehabilitation.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add on what has already been mentioned, when the juveniles in this situation go back into the community, they may face a situation where they are rejected by their own families and by their own environment in which they are put back into. So that is what would cause them to go back to the vices of drug abuse, because they feel that this will lighten their burden in this community. So Zambia Correctional Service has put in these programs, but if the community does not respond also by accepting them and giving them another chance, that is what causes them to become in that way. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, Chair. Just an addition to what the boss has already mentioned. We have a number of programs to avoid our juveniles to become hardcores once they are released. Under offender management, we have what we call the aftercare service. When these juveniles are released, there's what we call follow-up programs, so that maybe we see how they are responding, because the issue of rehabilitation, Chair, it is a gradual process. So we have when we are with them inside our facilities, we also need to follow them when they go back to their families. So these are the programs that we need the aid of support from the government, so that maybe the rehabilitation or maybe the counseling should just not only end in prison or maybe in the facility, but it should also be extended to where they are. By so doing, which means we should be avoiding the issue of being hardcore when they go out. That is my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I would also like to ask how your institution is working. I know you are the ones who give parole, you are the ones who release them, you are the one who rehabilitate them. But you made mention that you make sure that you make a follow-up. Are you working with other organizations like church organization? Because we know that when there's a gap, something has to fill it up, and these addicts, usually by just schooling them and encouraging them and doing whatever they are doing, I don't think they can stand the pressures out there. And you know, once an addict the line is very thin. Are you working with the churches? Are you working with other NGOs? Do you hand them over when they are released so that there is something or someone who is a role model to encourage them and to maybe fill in that space which has been created by them being rehabilitated? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Before we give a practical answer through the reformatory superintendent at Katombora, let me also add that 3/4 of our inmates are youthful in nature. And so after they've undergone the rehabilitation process, some are engaged in education up to university level, others will go up to skills training. The government has gone further to ensure that they put extra funding in what we are calling the extension services. So the extension services is now a follow-up after incarceration. So the extension services, because after research, we realized that most of the inmates that came in our facilities were not able to sustain themselves after coming out of the facilities. And so government has gone an extra step to ensure that they provide funding for what we are calling the starter pack. So if we identify that this inmate has been trained in, for instance, metal fabrication, we are encouraging the inmates to form what we are calling cooperatives. Those cooperatives are meant to be empowered by the Zambia Correctional Service, and then they will be given their necessary capital so that they are able to sustain themselves. I think that's a right step to ensure that they do not get back to the vices. I thought that I add that so that we do not just narrow the youthful population just to Katombora, but from our research, I think as at last month, 3/4 of the population within our facilities are ranging between 20 and 35. Then I'll also allow the reformatory superintendent to make further comments just to emphasize.
Or immediately after you finish responding to the questions of the Vice Chair, deal with these two questions.
We were actually just addressing question 1.
Yes. We'll revert back to the two questions after you complete the last question from the Vice Chair. Thank you.
Well noted. Well noted, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. As the Katombora Reformatory School, where we house these juveniles, we are not working in isolation. We have a number of NGOs that we are working with, as well as the church. Like right up now, we have the DAP, whom we are with at Katombora. They are stationed there to ensure that they give the starter packs, which my boss mentioned here. Because, Chair, what makes these young juveniles maybe to keep it offending, they're not kept busy, in short. So the interest which is there is, once they are released, it is our duty to attach them to the social welfare officers. Because even at Katombora, as I'm saying now, Katombora, we are not working alone as a facility. We have also the social welfare officer who is responsible for the juveniles once they are released. So they are attached to a number of NGOs, they are attached to a number of social welfare officers in the districts. So that those programs that is at Katombora, they continue. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We allow us to tackle question 2 and 3. The legal counsel will handle them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. In response to question 2, the question was who should undertake this kind of comprehensive research in order to generate a comprehensive data. The chairperson, sir, my take on this one is that since the Drug Enforcement Commission is the government institution that is actually in charge of drug abuse, it can be the lead institution, but including all other government institutions, even stakeholders, so that we can have a comprehensive data when it comes to drug abuse in Zambia. I submit, Chair. Then in response to question 3, the question was when it comes to punishing the drug traffickers, why can't we go a punitive way? The chairperson, sir, when we go a punitive way, punishment itself cannot actually deter these traffickers. One thing we need to understand is that even though these traffickers are punished in a hard way, they will still go back to the society. And for them to reintegrate properly, they need to be corrected so they can reintegrate back into society. But if we can only focus on punishing them, I do not think so if we can be actually addressing the issue. But if this person is first corrected and rehabilitated, then maybe we can try to solve the problem. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much. Having said that, just a follow-up question on the punishment. You have walked both paths, the path of the punishment and now the correction. According to you, which one is yielding more results? Because we are the lawmakers here. If you tell us that we need to change the law again and we go back to punishment, if it is yielding results, I'm sure that's the work of Parliament. Yeah, please, which one is yielding more results or better results? Thank you. Honorable Mabeta and then Honorable for Lukasha. Thank you.
Yeah, I think mine is just to encourage the correction service to continue with the work they have done. In my constituency, I've had a few youths who were once arrested and they were given skills like metal fabrication, wiring. They're working for one of the biggest mines in Zambia today because of what the rehabilitation they went through. So I think this is a program which you should continue and ensure that at least every person who's in your hand, they're given an opportunity to become better people in society. I thank you.
Yes, you can take this. Honorable.
Thank you, Chair.
Is it a follow-up question?
I think it's a follow-up because I
want
want to get
the question you asked earlier.
Obliged.
Thank you.
I want us to get clarity. There must be a distinction in how we can punish, for lack of a better example, 7 spirits from Chivoya compound, and how we should punish arguably those 7 Afghanistans that came into this country and were responsible for bringing in, I think it's cocaine or heroin, in large quantities. You know, 7 spirits can be considered as our son, and if we think he's fallen foul of the law, and we think in your assessment it's rehabilitatable.
Just a moment, my apology to the witness. I didn't warn you that we are live on television. So as we are making submission, sorry, I needed to bring it to your attention that we are live on TV, but this is not of my own making. We have just been informed by the TV crew. So I just wanted you to know. Please, you can proceed, the Honorable MP for Lukash.
Grateful, Chair. So I think I've almost made the point. We must draw distinctions on how we can punish drug traffickers who are from within our community, because these drugs find themselves into Zambia from external forces or from external drug traffickers. what do you think we should do? Because I would not subscribe to the idea that a person from Afghanistan can come here and commit hideous offenses which border on destroying the future of the nation by destroying our youths. And we say we're going to put him in a reformatory center. When the example that we have seen world over is that when you punish drug traffickers who are part of an international cartel decisively, you reduce the level of drug use and abuse in the nation. So I wanted to just get a clarity on those positions without necessarily watering down the need for us to be more reformatory and punitive. But there are certain cases that can be dealt with as special cases. And if we are faced with a special case, what should we do? I say this because I think most of these international cartels, if their members are arrested here, if you've seen the experience we've had, even the courts themselves have not been very decisive. You find that without punishing somebody to a long prison term, they are actually given they are PI'd and taken back to their countries. They just go and reorganize themselves and come back and continue the same vices they're doing in the nation. Thank you, Chair.
If you hear the concern by the Honorable MP for Lukash, he agrees with you on the points of correction and rehabilitation. But he's saying, do you think the law is adequate on the people that are involved into drug trafficking, not on the abusers? Are we doing enough to deal with those that are involved into the supply chain of drugs and substance? So, that causes a lot of harm on our children.
Most grateful the chairperson, sir. I actually agree with the Honorable Member of Parliament that these cartels are quite a nuisance within our countries, and as Zambia Correctional Service, we strongly submit that a stiffer punishment. That's why if you look at our recommendation 5, we were also trying to communicate that a more stiffer punishment in terms of a more stiffer punishment specifically for these that are dealing in drug trafficking should be enhanced. That's our view. And during their stay within the correctional setup, we need to enhance rehabilitation programs so that before they are reintegrated back into society, we need to achieve a change of mindset. And we agree in totality that there is need to strengthen the law pertaining to drug traffickers. And within the correctional service, as emphasized, our approach should be purely correction so that we shall transform this mindset. I hope I've handled your question, sir. Then the other one, the Vice Chair had asked whether the punishment was better than the correction. I think that's why we have transformed from a punishment institution to now a correctional institution. Like I have stated, if a person is dealing in drug trafficking and sentenced to 20 years as an example, there is a need to increase in terms of correctional programs so that we achieve, we change this mindset to reintegrate as a changed individual. And so we recommend that correction is the best because this person will be assisted to transform completely from the vices they were engaged in to becoming productive as they reintegrate society. I hope I've also tackled the first question. Then which was the other question? I think
I can see the one member of parliament wants one issue clarified before we could allow you to go. The MP for Vubi. Maybe Deputy Commissioner General can switch off the microphone.
Oh, in fact, through you, the Chair, I forgot to talk about the commendation from the Honourable Member of Parliament that I think he has seen it in his constituency that those that have gone through the rehabilitation process have been able to reintegrate and be extreme productive individuals out there. We are grateful for that observation. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, witness, for a very vivid information dispatched. I just want to maybe find out if you have places where, as a committee, maybe you would advise us to go and visit, because I think we'll be having a tour in one of these days where you feel we can get maybe the right information of what is tantalizing in the country. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
The Deputy Commissioner General, the member is saying, is there, as we conclude our engagement at the end, he would want us to go and have a few of children that have undergone, even those that are participated into drug trafficking, and children that have been victims of drug and substance abuse, so that this committee can hear from them, have that experience, so that as it renders a report in Parliament, it will be a report of informed position, speaking to the victims themselves and hear what the experience has been.
Most grateful, the chairperson, sir. To start with, would ask this committee to visit all our facilities, maybe to appreciate specifically the programs that have been aligned in line with the subject that we are discussing. You'll discover that in almost all the facilities, after the identification, we are able to engage stakeholders and ensure that we tackle this vice with every other person participating. Then I would also request the committee to engage. We are ready to provide data for those that have been reintegrated after going through our facilities. The notable ones amongst those that had issues with drug-related issues, others have formed what I called the cooperatives. We are able to identify those cooperatives so that you are free to interact with them at your own time. I think a lot of cooperatives are also in Luapula, and several are in Eastern, and others are across the country. The whole essence is to reintegrate a person with a starter pack so that they are able to sustain within the communities. Also, we highlighted that we have got one or two that are almost graduating at the University of Zambia. I think the issue was drug-related also. We would love that this committee takes time to interview this particular individual. We also have one in Kapiri, who I think after passing through the reformatory school, he did his teaching qualification and is now working under the Ministry of Education at one of the schools in Kapiri. So I think those could be better examples to target. Most grateful, sir.
Thank you so much, witness. I can see your legal counsel, you want to supplement your...
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just a wrap up on addressing the issue that was raised by Honorable Minister on whether the sentence which is imposed to drug traffickers can be enhanced as other than the way it is now. I would submit to say the law is not cast in stone. And in an event that there is a gap that has been identified, I think the law can be amended to that effect. If the current punishment is not actually adequate, I think the law can just be revisited and amended so as to deal with the vice. I can give an example of the offense of defilement. It's got a minimum mandatory sentence. Maybe even drug traffickers can have such kind of an offense if it actually needs to be in that way. I submit, Chair.
Thank you so much. That's why we are interacting with you. You are the players. You are the ones to tell us if the law is adequate or it is inadequate. Because nowadays the laws are community driven. You can say this law is adequate or it is inadequate. It's just the honorable MP for Wankoyo.
Yes, Chair. Yeah, I think I also want to just to encourage the team not to shun away from the opportunities which have been put available in the CDF. I think in Mufulira I've been approached by the correction service at Kamchanga, where they are requesting for a dormitory, extra dormitory. And the three constituencies, the Kantashi, Kankora, and the Mufulira Central, have agreed to reserve some funds to build an extra dormitory. Then also, as you are rebuilding these inmates, please ensure that you encourage them to form cooperatives so that as they are coming out of the prisons, they also have some startup capital where they can buy equipment. If someone has been trained as a boiler maker, just let them own the basic equipment, because a skill without equipment may be difficult to implement. So let's continue working together as a community. These are the people we also have an interest to see that they become better people in society. Thank you.
Most grateful to the chair. Maybe just a slight comment, if you could allow me.
Yes, please. In less than 2 minutes.
I wanted just to amplify that the Extension Directorate, which emphasizes the follow-up after incarceration. I think since we started, we have quite a number of cooperatives that are formed to assist with starter packs and so on and so forth. But just to amplify what the Honorable Member of Parliament has indicated, most of those cooperatives even have a share under CDF. If you, I think, as you visit most of the cooperatives, especially in Luapula, Southern and part of Eastern, you'll find that they've been significantly funded by CDF. Yes, so they have equal opportunities, just like any other larger member of the community. Most grateful, sir.
Thank you so much, Witness. It has been the pleasure interacting with you, and we are looking forward to further engagement. And as we undertake the tour to understand how the impact of this subject has been on our youth, of drug and substance abuse, we will definitely find a way to interact with you through one of your facilities, so that we can go and speak to the people that are involved. These are the younger ones, and that is where our interest is. I want to thank you once again, the Deputy Commissioner General, for your submission. It just remains of me to officially now withdraw the immunity that had conferred on you, so that you can go out and enjoy the greater immunity as provided for in the Republican Constitution out there as a citizen. Please, you are free to go, and you can carry a bottle of water. It is not an extra burden on you. I know you enjoy greater immunity as provided for in the Constitution. The Deputy Commissioner General, once again, thank you for your submission together with your team. Thank you. Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Affairs, where we are looking at the topical subject to deal with the drug and substance abuse among our youths in Zambia. And we are delighted to have you as one of our witnesses. Our witness, as we begin our interaction, it is important to introduce ourselves, so we shall begin introducing ourselves by asking you and your team to do that formal introduction. Then later on we shall ask the members of parliament to introduce themselves. Then we shall proceed to interact with you. We will give you maximum 15 minutes to speak to your written memoranda to raise the salient issues that you feel are of critical importance to this committee. Then later we shall have another 15 minutes to interact, to allow members of parliament to interact with you. So witness, please, as and when you are ready, you can proceed to introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much. It is a team of 4 of us. The one I'm speaking, I'm the interim country director. I'm called Jovina and Nawenzake.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. I am Michael Mansa. I am the Climate Justice and Humanitarian Lead, but also interim for Youth and Empowerment. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Lusekelo Naomi Chinyama. I am the Project Officer for Social Movements and Governance. Yeah.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Bob Sianjalika. I'm the Communications Officer for Action Aid Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you, Action Aid. We shall now ask our honorable members of parliament to introduce themselves. We'll begin with my member from my immediate right.
Thank you so very much, Chair. Good morning to our witnesses. My name is Honorable Kangwa George Chisanga, Member of Parliament for Lukasha constituency. Thank you, Chair.
Then we move to Mambirima.
Good morning, Action Aid. My name is Ajin Chisenga, Member of Parliament for Mambirima constituency in Wapula and a member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, witness. I'm Banda Krell, Member of Parliament for Vubu in the Eastern Province and a member of this committee. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, Chair. Morning, witnesses. I'm Hudson Mareta, Member of Parliament for Kankolo in Mufurira. I thank you.
Good morning, witness. I'm Imelda Munashabantu, Member of Parliament for Mapatizia constituency. Mapatizia is in Zimba district of Southern Province, and I'm the Vice Chairperson of this committee. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Action Aid. My name is Evans Chilongo from the Office of the Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, witness. My name is Ronald Kawamachito Taylor. I'm Member of Parliament for Pambashe constituency in Wapra Province, Kawamba district. And I happen, the courtesy of my friends, I'm the chairperson for this committee. Action Aid, as we continue interacting and allowing you to make your oral submission, let me tell you that according to the parliamentary procedure, a witness appearing before the Committee of Parliament enjoys immunities which members of Parliament enjoy, so that he or she can fully deliberate and engage members of Parliament without any fear of any future reprisal. Therefore, according to Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, immunity is conferred upon you that any information that you shall give before this committee cannot be used against you in any court of law or on any legally constituted tribunal within the boundaries of Zambia, unless you choose to deliberate to mislead this committee. Unfortunately, the same Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia may be turned against you and may be used otherwise, but we have every hope that you will not choose to deliberately mislead this committee. Therefore, witness, you can proceed to speak to your written memoranda by raising salient issues within 15 minutes, and then later on we shall engage with you. But should you choose to delegate, you are free to delegate, so you can proceed as and when you are ready to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair of the committee. I think for the interest of time, we'll go direct to the presentation of our submission, which will be presented before you by my staff, Rusekelo and Michael. I invite Rusekelo to start the presentation.
Good morning once more, Honorable Members of Parliament. So it is noted that 74%, approximately 74% of Zambia's population is under the age of 30, with 28% of it being between the ages of 15 and 29 years. So yes, we do have a very youthful population, and we are faced with a drug challenge amongst young people, whom, according to the former Zambia Drug Enforcement Commissioner, Madam Mary Chiwa, cover 50% of cases recorded in the first quarter of 2022. So these are young people below the age of 35. And in Africa, when we look at it at a broader perspective, 70% of people who are in treatment for drug-related issues and substance-related issues are young people below the age of 35. With regards to the policy and legal framework supporting programs against drug and substance abuse among young people in Zambia, we have the Constitution of Zambia, which provides for the establishment of the Drug Enforcement Commission, which, among other roles, investigates, provides oversight and control of the use and trafficking of illicit drugs and substances. Apart from that, we also have the DEC, which is provided by the Constitution, is operationalized by the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 2021. Other legislation is the Controlled Substances Act of 2023, which provides for the deterrence of the sale of controlled substances to children, some of which are addictive and can lead to abuse. The Children's Code Act of 2022 in section 20 states that a person shall not subject a child to the use, production, trafficking, or distribution of hallucinogens, alcohol, tobacco products, drugs, or precursor chemicals. And in the same act, in section 170 subsection H, the act mandates the provision of treatment, rehabilitation, and counseling services for children proven to be abusing drugs. We also have the Mental Health Act of 2019, which we believe can play a key role in addressing the vice amongst young people. We have the Public Health Act of 2020, the Tobacco Act of 2022, and the Tobacco Control Bill of 2020, which can potentially address the widespread use and abuse of tobacco among young people. With regards to policy, the 8th National Development Plan speaks to strengthening public health through mental health and substance abuse management. We have the National Health Policy, which aligns with our national long-term vision, Vision 2030, and the National Health Strategy for 2023 to 2028. We have the National Youth Policy of 2015, which also provides guidance to addressing strategies for addressing drug and substance abuse amongst youths. We have the Zambia Education Curriculum Framework of 2023. We have the National Free Education Policy, which we can say is also contributing to curbing the vice of substance abuse, because I mean young people are now in school. We have the National Standards and Guidelines for Youth-Friendly Health Spaces. We have the National Alcohol Policy of 2018 and its accompanying implementation plan. And of course, last but not conclusive, the national budget, which through which resources are allocated and operationalizes the interventions that are set forth by government and government institutions. So, noting some of these legislations, we have noted a few gaps or issues. My colleague will speak more to the broader theme with the challenges as we move forward. But these are some of the issues that can be noted. So the Children's Code Act, which I earlier made reference to in section 20 does not state any consequences for persons who abrogate the provision, which is to not provide a child with illicit drugs and substances. So it does not state any consequences for persons who abrogate the provision, making it of no effect. The Controlled Substances Act of 2023 in section 38, however, does speak to these consequences in part. So there is need to harmonize the two legislations. The use of the word unknowingly, also in section 36 of the Liquor Licensing Act of 2011, allows for liquor traders to continue to sell to underage persons under the pretext of ignorance. The section 36 of the Liquor Licensing Act of 2011 provides that a licensed vendor shall not knowingly sell or deliver intoxicating liquor to a child. That creates a gap. The Tobacco Control Bill is yet to be enacted since the bill was first presented in Parliament in 2020. I think this currently is an issue of advocacy with a number of CSOs. The Mental Health Act of 2019 provides for the establishment of a National Mental Health Council, which to this date hasn't yet been put in place. And like I mentioned earlier, its establishment will help in curbing or addressing mental health issues that might be leading to drug and substance abuse amongst young people. Also noting that sport and recreation play a key role in deterring young people from engaging in illicit drug and substance abuse. We have noted that the 2023 and 2024 national budgets have both only allocated 0.3% of the budget to sports and recreational facilities and the like. So yeah, it shows that there's not much of a will to increase financing to these institutions that deter young people from being idle and abusing substances. I think due to time, I will pass it on to my colleague Michael. Well, we do have other components such as the role of state and non-state actors, but I'll pass it on to Michael to, I think, speak to the pertinent issues of the challenges and recommendations that we have.
Thank you very much. Going straight to the challenges, one of the things that we are discussing substance abuse, we're discussing drug abuse, and these are some of the key issues that are affecting young people. One of the things that we need to note is that the challenging factor has been compliance levels as one of the hindrances to the actualization of the control of drug abuse and substance abuse. It is also important to note that some of the acts that my colleague has referred to, such as the Liquor Licensing Act of 2011, when we talk about sections 33 and 34, really are not enforced widely, and because of this we find that there are a lot of unlicensed institutions or vendors that brew and produce counterfeit alcohol, therefore making it easily accessible to the young people in the community. But also one of the challenges, I think she mentioned with regards to how young people respond to some of these issues. One of the things that has been noted is the nuance of the limited incorporation of drug and substance abuse learning within the Zambian curriculum. I think it is very, very paramount that our young people are groomed from childhood in primary as they go up, because these things, then they'll be talking about them, they'll be discussing some of these issues, and they'll know the repercussions. Another unfortunate aspect is that alcohol substance abuse has been is a synonym to male, and therefore we find that if females fall to this, there is that social stigmatization that is associated with them, therefore reducing reporting mechanisms to support them in therapy and rehabilitation. But also the reporting mechanisms by the institutions that have been charged. For example, we talk about DEC. We have limited data that speaks to substance and drug abuse that is available to the public. And we are speaking in terms of technology, the integration of ICTs within public services, how a young person can access reports, how even us could access reports that would inform decision making at local level but also at national level. That becomes very, very important in programming activities that then address the needs of young people. When we talk about, for example, the recreation of new and modified substances that we see on the market now, we talk about things like shisha. I don't know, honorable members, if you've come across such. You know, there are those that exist on the market. We have shisha, we have the sniffing, drug, which in our local language would be referred to as insunko, which is the sniffing. All these and other cigarettes, but also digital cigarettes that are coming on board that anyone can walk to any shop and grab them. But all these are some of the contributing factors from the controlled perspective. How do we ensure that these who sell some of these things really abide with the regulations? But also one of the things is that state-owned rehabilitation centers across the country. If one can't speak about Chainama, I don't know which other one we can speak about. That could be present in, for example, we talk about Pambashe. Through your chair, your constituents, if we can think about any rehabilitation centers that is available there. If we talk about, for example, Vubwi, we talk about maybe in Zimba, through Honorable Imelda, if there could be any rehabilitation centers there, you find that there is none. Now the question is, how then do we bridge up the gap for those that are being affected? So that is also a gap that is really has to be looked into, that we feel is a main challenge to the hindrance of addressing this. Now, these are some of our recommendations. They may not be exhaustive, but we feel that they add to the transformation of the policy framework. They also contribute to the transformation of interventions that government puts across. One of the things which is there is that we make parliamentary submissions in and out relating to youth sports and so many things that speak to the youth agenda. But one of the things that lacks is implementation. How do we then actualize with the little that we have so far? We know that some of the policies may not be, complete in totality, but they carry some sense to which we can control drug abuse and substance abuse. But even in those laws and the legal frameworks that we have, there is little that is being actualized. And we recommend that really when we need to revise, for example, the Children's Code of Act of 2022, that will then incorporate some of the consequences that relate to those that provide illicit drug abuse or trafficking. But also this will deter so many people to engage young people. When we look at, for example, the role of local authorities, and the police, it's really that on that point when we talk about arresting, investigations, that's when they come to the fore. But I think the issue of drug substance abuse should be done at inception if we really mean to curb this issue and promote, health among our Zambians, is to do it from inception, where we engage them from awareness raising, where we engage them from intervention, so that they become part and parcel of the change, that the community embrace the change that we're talking about. But also we need to, I think my colleague mentioned about enforcing other legal frameworks, which I'm not going to speak to, but I will go straight to, for example, the establishment of the Mental Health Council. I think it's very, very important. We may want to look at it from the constituents' point of view. We have the CDF now that keeps on expanding and enlarging, and we can take advantage of that opportunity to ensure that through CDF, you honorable members and through your constituencies, you can actually, speak to some of these things, that we need such facilities within our constituencies in order to help our young people. How can we leverage on CDF in order for us to ensure that we create habitation for young people? I think it's very, very important. But also, when you look at budgetary allocations, how does the budget look like when it comes to recreation? In those old days, we used to have community play parks. Where are they now? You know, they've either been changed into infrastructure to something, or the people have changed it to something, or there's just no, you know, support. And we see that through these funds, such as CDF, can really transform communities and getting our young people preoccupied with other sports and activities within the communities. And therefore, we need to intensify also issues of young people that live on the streets. I think it's a very imperative that those are Zambians, those are our children, those are our brothers, those are our sisters, and we really need to think about them. In the nutshell, Action Aid Zambia and this global platform do really acknowledge and recognize government efforts in addressing and combating drug and substance abuse. However, we can only do so much. Ours, and through you, the committee, it will be important that certain implementation guidelines are actualized. For example, how do we actualize the allocation of budget or allocation to young people? 2, creation of facilities for young people, but also ensuring that there is a sustainable management, awareness, and distribution of disaggregated data that can speak to some of the issues that affect young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your candid submission. Now it is that time that we allow you to interact with members of parliament. As you are thinking, I am happy that you stated that the issue of modern techniques to drug abuse. We've seen children in colleges and universities resorting to modern techniques. I saw something, somebody sent me to my phone, and he said a young girl, is it shisha, and then the smoke is coming out, and then they said this is a future wife of a president. How do we deal with that issue that even people that are indulging in such kind of activities, because we are slowly killing a generation. I wonder what generation will it be 30 years from now if we don't control. How do we deal with the modern techniques of accessing drugs as we fight the physical drug traffickers coming up with the law? Do you think it is high time that we came up with a modern laws that must also respond to the modern challenges like cigarette, accessing drugs, shisha? I don't think in any of our, I need to be guided by Council Tsang and your lawyers. You are the expert. If we have any provision, even in our psychotropic or the substance, anything to do with the emerging issues on the market, how do we deal with that? As other I know Vubu is itching to ask a question. Please, you keep that in mind. Let me also allow him to pose a question. Yes, or one of them for Vubu.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Chair, and thank you, witness, for the submission. I think you have emphasized that we need to try and cure this problem at its early stage. What measures do you think can be put, maybe in relation to the curriculum in education, and maybe what do you think should be done to try and work on the same problem? I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, before that, we have seen an indication by the Honourable MP for Lukasha.
Chair, thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I want to address an issue that arises from the recommendation, I think, which says that we should provide for self-recreational spaces such as Global Platform Zambia, Youth Hub. I want to present two scenarios. I am a member of parliament for Lukasha constituency, largely a rural area. where the aspirations for recreational facilities are different from what the youth in Lusaka, for instance, will be looking to as what would be a recreational facility. I've also dealt with drug abuse from different perspectives. From the rural perspective, we've tried to create our own small organizations that try to go and teach our children on the vices against drug abuse. It has not been received very well because maybe we haven't packaged it properly, not having information about what the children in my rural area, for instance, would need. You flip that, you come to Lusaka. We've dealt with a number of cases of drug addiction and abuse amongst our youths from a legal perspective, and you can cluster our children in different segments. You find that the children in Chibolia, they deal with drug abuse in a completely different way from the children from Mayadi, for lack of a better term. So these three groups from different perspectives, if you have to house them under this initiative called the Global Platform Youth Hub, what programs can you put in specifically which will address the different expectations given the different societal backgrounds from which these children come? Thank you, Chair.
So thank you, TNC. You can proceed to respond to those three concerns.
Thank you very much. I'll start with the Honorable Member for Lukasha, if I'm correct. Okay, thank you. You've raised, I think, an important segment, and it is a valid contribution. You've highlighted that we have different young people being clustered under different economic standards, and due to economic standards, they also have different behaviors and practices when it comes to drug abuse, and that is absolutely true. However, when we talk about an approach that speaks to youth engagement, our approach is not for us to design programs for youths. The approach is for young people to identify their own problems and be the solution to those problems. And that's a difference. And in most cases, you'll find that we design programs and activities for youths. And the people that design youths programs are not even youths. And again, within the youth category, we have those that are in the teenage age, the aspirations is of exploration according to psychology. But those in the 20s, theirs is fitting into society. They are finding the niche, and these are some of the young people that probably may have come out of college or they're still in college. And we talk about those between 30 and 35. Now, what are we talking about? We are saying that the approach should not be a one-size-fits-all. We should develop programs, and young people should be at the center of this programming. From the rural communities, they'll tell you what they need and how they can cure. From the urban communities, they'll tell you they have the reasons and they have the answers. And they'll be able to align themselves to such issues. And then you can craft them according to the constituencies. And those they can work. You can't take an approach that works in Lusaka and take it to Lusakasha. It can't work because the contexts are different. The aspirations are different. But an issue that raises from Lusakasha is very relevant to the people of Lusakasha when they raise it. And it becomes very, very important and relevant to their contribution.
For the purpose of the record is Lukasha.
Oh, Lukasha. Thank you very much for that correction. Lukasha. Oh, that's also English also. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that correction, Honorable. So that's what I could speak to. Then curriculum, I think Honorable Member mentioned. Then my colleague will speak to the first one. Yeah. So introduction of these learning programs, we believe that there's a notion that we have in society that train up a child in the way they should go, so that when they get aged, they will not move out from those practices. And we've seen this being demonstrated in various sectors and society. And this is very true because if we integrate curriculum development, it is integrated with drug, substance, and abuse within the learning platforms. The young people try to understand, first of all, one, what are the economic implications of substance abuse? Two, what are the social implications of substance abuse? Three, what are the overall developmental consequences to substance abuse, because we're talking about personal development, we're talking about society development and economic development. What are some of the effects? And I think the chairperson mentioned that we are worried about the moral fiber of a future generation, and if the future generation is not kept from inception, then it raises so much to be desired on how best we can handle the young people. So if we feel that that is just one of the approaches, there could be more approaches that we can integrate where young people are found. For example, the youth development, the National Youth Development Councils, those could be used. We talk about, for example, other centers that could be leveraged within the constituencies. So those are some of the approaches. I hope I answered that question. My colleague will attempt to add on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So before I move to the first question, I'll just make a few
Is it
additions.
deliberately because I asked about a young lady? Let me also include the boys so that I don't seem to be gender insensitive. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll just make a few additions to the one on the curriculum. So I'll make reference to the 2023 curricular framework, the Zambia 2023 education curricular framework. When you look at the document itself and you scan through for topics to do with drug and substance abuse, very little is mentioned, little to nothing is mentioned in there. And it shows that there's not much effort if it is not being explicitly referred to, if it's not being explicitly mentioned. The curriculum itself can also provide for mandatory anti-drug abuse clubs in schools. I think we used to have those some time back. Now they are almost non-existent. Even in universities, they're not even quite as active. The clubs, and deliberately including the conversation or the content on drug and substance abuse in the curriculum, will counter the information that young people have in the media. And this is something that maybe can also be noted that we didn't really mentioned, because it's written here under the roles of non-state actors and state actors, such as the media, and how it has a responsibility to produce socially conscious content with regards to drug and substance abuse, produce stories, change stories with regards to drug and substance abuse, how it is affecting young people. But most of the content that we see now in music, in movies, it's all appealing. So the educational curriculum can play a role in debunking those myths that the media is pushing towards young people to, to use these drugs and substances. Then moving to question one, modern techniques. I think a lot of the modern techniques that the young people in Zambia are exposed to are in relation to tobacco. So the e-cigarettes, that's tobacco. Shisha, that is tobacco. And as the more we learn about this, we're finding that these modern techniques are actually way even worse than the cigarettes that we've known for a very long time. Okay, so they are being heavily advertised. So that's now one thing that we need to look at. Look at the private sector. How are they advertising? Okay, so we are acknowledging to say drug and substance abuse is an issue. Yes, it is an issue, and it's leading to deaths and cancers and all of this. But at the same time, we're allowing when you're moving, I think at East Park there, the roundabout there's a very big billboard that talks of Zambia vapes. What is a vape? Electronic cigarette. So now how do we work around that and curb the issue of advertising?
Zambia?
Zambia vapes.
Vapes, huh?
Yes.
Okay. You can hear the modern words.
So it's called vaping. So even now, in our different environments, I know young people who are even in the medical profession, who day in and day out, they are vaping. They are becoming addicted. And it's very easy. You don't need a lighter, you don't need anything. It just needs to be charged or newly bought, and at any moment, you'll be there. Whether you're in a room, you can even hide it. No one will even notice it. So it's been widely spread, and it's under the radar. So one of the mechanisms would be to increase an excise, tax, impose and increase taxes on these vapes that are coming in. The tobacco control bill, it's still there. It hasn't yet been enacted since 2020. So I would say this is on you, the members of parliament, to work around expediting that process. Otherwise, most of these modern techniques that are coming out have to do with tobacco and tobacco consumption in Zambia. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable MP Foganko, I know you're excited at the older ones with the new techniques on the market like vapes. So I hope it is not the one you can switch off your microphone as we allow him to ask a question.
Yes, I think I'm seem to be behind when she says electronic cigarette and vapes. I'm not understanding that language. So I wanted just a clarification so that we could move at the same speed.
Okay, electronic cigarette.
Okay, before you answer,
yes,
there is also Vobi.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, witness, once again. I think I just want to find out, maybe from your, what you know, do we have enough legal framework to do with the subject matter? Because I heard someone talking about maybe other measures which are supposed to be. What is it that you are telling this committee to do so that maybe we can try and cure the disease which is affecting our future leaders? Thank you, Chair.
You can proceed to respond to those two concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. What are electronic cigarettes? Well, that's what they're called. So in most cases you find it's a little plastic tube. It has a battery in there for it to recharge. I don't know what the setup is, but it's electronic. Yeah, it's like a phone. But then it has tobacco, I think that's burning using the battery and producing smoke when you turn it on, and then you just, when you're ready to smoke, you just, it's on demand tobacco. That doesn't need a lighter, that doesn't need a matchstick. Yeah, so I don't know how to describe it pretty much, but yeah. And then for the second question, do we have enough in the legal framework? I would say no. I don't think it's enough, especially that we're speaking towards youth substance abuse, and youth encompasses children as well. We have in instances where young people are introduced to substance abuse, maybe from their household, from their homes, their aunties, their uncles, and we do have legislation such as the Child Code Act, which speak to not providing these substances to young people, but there are no consequences for that also. So the legislation has a gap in that area to say, if, say, a neighbor noticed that a 10-year-old child is being exposed to chivuku or katata in the community, they should be able to speak up, and this, whoever is providing that to them should be able to, get some repercussions for their actions. The tobacco control bill is still out there. That one I'm going to re-emphasize. Increasing the cost of imposing an excise tax on, or increasing it. Yeah, so legislation also should be put in place towards advertising, the advertisement of illicit substances such as alcohol, tobacco, and some of these known to be abused substances. Sorry, I'll just make reference to, yes, so there's a lot of gaps, and part of them are with regards to compliance. Okay, so the Liquor Licensing Act, for instance, in Section 36 states that young people no liquor store should sell substances to people, underage people, right? People under the age of 18 and whatnot. But it says unknowingly, not knowingly, in a case where it's unknowing, rather, should not knowingly sell these substances to young people. But that's a gap, okay? Because what are they using to know whether this person is young or not? There's nothing. So maybe a way of strengthening legislation would be with the drive towards national registration. That would enable institutions, stores such as ShopRite to be able to request for identification before someone bought alcohol and other substances. We've gone to certain stores. I'll scratch the ShopRite there for now, but certain stores, when you walk into certain stores, especially during festive seasons, you'll find underage young people still have access to these, and these are credible stores. But then how do we curb that issue of access by young people to these substances, provision of identification. So there's a lot of measures. I think we have put a number of them in the document itself. So even what I'm speaking to right now is all highlighted in the document. I'm pretty sure it will be of support. Michael, do you have anything to add on?
I can come first. I think from our submission, based on the provisions which are there, they might be sufficient in terms of numbers. But still, we are requesting for harmonization of some of laws to make sure that they speak to each other, or to show that the government has got the same focus regardless the sector which is dealing with that. But again, another issue, it is the implementation. And in most cases, we find that we have got progressive laws and progressive registration system, but when it comes to implementation, that's where we found the problem. We show the commitment and the will of the government. Yes, it's shown in document, but when it comes to what is actual happening on the ground, that's where there is a problem. So what we submitted from you, I think those are the major. Those laws which are there, they can be reviewed to make sure that some of gaps are removed. Harmonization to make sure that we have got a legal system which is speaking one language, and also make sure that we really, what are there, are implemented to show the effectiveness and to prevent the impact and the harm to young people.
Thank you so much. So you are submitting to say the Narcotic and Drug Substances Act must be amended to speak to the modern emerging challenges like Zambia vibes. Thank you so much, witness, for your submission. It just means of me to thank you for your submission and for the information provided. This is the goodness of engaging with the new age movement. You tend to learn a lot of new ideas, because they can be speaking, you are seated, you don't know they are talking about you. So thank you for the information that you have submitted to Parliament. I hope it will help to inform policy, so that we can save our younger generation, because they are the next presidents, they are the next ministers, they are next members of parliament, they are next executive directors for Action Aid Zambia. So we need to hold our hands together. We need the concerted efforts of all the key players, state and non-state actors, so that we can save our country, because this is the only country we have. Action Aid, it is now my time to thank you and wish you well. But before you go, allow me to withdraw the immunities that I conferred on you according to Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, so that you can go lighter and enjoy the greater immunities as provided for under our Republican Constitution as a citizen. So thank you for the information that you've provided to us. You are most welcome.
Okay.
Cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by ingestion of food or water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae.
Symptoms of cholera include vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration.
How do you prevent cholera?
Be sure to drink and use safe water that has been boiled or chlorinated.
Wash your hands with soap and safe water before handling the food or after using the toilet.
Use clean water to wash your vegetables and fruits. Avoid eating foods from the street that have been exposed to flies.
Always eat food that is completely cooked and hot.
Make sure to visit your nearest health care center when you have suspected cholera cases.
Remember, prevention is better than cure.
Here is an announcement from National Assembly. The following committee meetings of the standing committees for the third session of the 13th National Assembly will start sitting on the following dates. Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Robinson, Navuliato, under the topic Carbon Markets and Trading in Zambia, Opportunities and Challenges. Committee on Cabinet Affairs will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Wesley, Nyarenda, under the topic Review over the Operations and Management of a Smart Zambia. Committee on Government Assurances will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Thomas Williams, under the topic Selected Government Assurances. Committee on Legal Affairs, Human Rights and Governance will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Amusa Mwanamwambwa, under the topic The Fight Against Corruption in Zambia. Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Committee Room Number 4, under the topic A Review over the Implementation of the Constituency Development Fund. Committee on Media, Information and Communication Technologies will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Committee Room Number 1, under the topic Zambia ICT Infrastructure vis-a-vis Financial Technology Growth. Members of the public and other interested parties may contact the following officers in the office of the clerk. Mr. Stephen Chiwota, Director of Financial Committees, on telephone number 292-425 up to 36. Mrs. Doreen N.C. Mukwanka, Director, Social Committees, telephone number 292-425 up to 36. This information is available on the National Assembly website www.parliament.gov.zm. Here is an announcement from National Assembly. The following committee meetings of the standing committees for the third session of the 13th National Assembly will start sitting on the following date. Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Fanyanga, Mulikita, under the topic The Implementation of Monthly Fuel Price Reviews in Zambia. Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs will sit from 16th to 27th January 2024 in Robinson, Navuliato, under the topic The State of Infrastructure at Borders and Ports of Entry into the Country. Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters will sit from 30th January to 10th February 2024 in Committee Room Number 4, under the topic The Review of the Gender-Based Violence Response and Programming vis-a-vis establishment of victims' shelters, fast-track courts, and the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Fund. Committee on Education, Science and Technology will sit from 30th January to 10th February 2024 in Committee Room Number 5, under the topic A Review of the Implementation of the Education Curriculum. Committee on Health, Community Development and Social Services will sit from 30th January to 10th February 2024 in Committee Room Number 3 under the topic Devolution of Primary Health Care Services in Zambia. Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters will sit from 30th January to 10th February 2024 in Committee Room Number 1 under the topic A Review over the Informal Labour Sector and its Contribution to the Economy. Members of the public and other interested parties may contact the following officers in the office of the clerk. Mr. Stephen Chiwota, Director of Financial Committees, on telephone number 292-425 up to 36. Mrs. Doreen N.C. Mukwanka, Director, Social Committees, telephone number 292-425 up to 36. This information is available on the National Assembly website www.parliament.gov.zm.
So another part of the Jewish history of this town is in fact the Pioneer Tower behind me. That was funded by the Sussman brothers. They were amongst the first Jewish people to come to this country back in the 1890s. And once Livingston town was built in 1905, they were amongst the first inhabitants. And 50 years later, as part of the celebration of their lives in this country, they funded the building of the clock tower. And of course it has a wonderful view over the falls, which we can see in front of us here, all the way down there. So it's part of the celebration, and 100 years later the Sussman brothers came back, and the Lutunga came from Barotseland to come and meet them. That is the prominence that this particular family had in this country, and of course in South Africa, because they left here, Livingston, to go to South Africa, where they set up in South Africa the company called Woolworths. So to this day the Jewish people have a strong influence not only in this country but in the sub-region. This is Nicky Iljon's shop. The Iljon family, of which there were various members of it, were one of the first inhabitants of the new town of Livingston, and this shop became one for selling bicycles and model aeroplanes. Now Nicky Iljon himself was the one who sadly closed down the synagogue when the last child had gone through there back in 1972. They then left here to go abroad after that. Behind me you can see there's a shop with pharmacy written on it. This used to be Sossi's garage. This was a man called Harry Sossen who married into the Sussman family, and he had the leadership of the Chevrolets back in the Northern Rhodesian days. And also, I'm pointing out over here, this tree is exactly where King George VI of Great Britain stood in 1947 in his visit to this country. Behind me is the Capitol Theatre, which today is the oldest cinema and theatre left in Zambia, and it was owned originally by the Grill family, and a young man married into their family, and his name was Harry Sossen, who we've talked about earlier. And this is where famous people in the world like Alfred Hitchcock and Danny Kaye came through to see films here. It was built in 1931, and beyond it is the yellow building, Stanley House, which is where they sold the finery to the local girls. That was dresses and all the rest of it as well. And then further down the road is a very famous intersection. This was the main intersection in town, and everybody in town knew it as Fix, Flax and Orfox Corner, after the three traders who were there. There was Sam Fix, who ran a wonderful dressmaking company. Old man Flax ran the haberdashery, like a hardware store, and beyond it was the Orfox family, and they traded in everything else. And
Appendix 5, Chair. There have been a number of them which have been overpaid, and when you check the Appendix 5,
Yes.
is the Vubi Constituency Development Fund account detailed 2022 community projects. So if you look at the balances in the last column, like for example, the Mizigawa Library Chisia, there's an overpayment of 5,000 kwacha. Then number 7, you can also check number 7, completion of Chikoka Police. There's an overpayment of 86,000 kwacha. Equally, if you go to number 22, construction of maternity annex at Mizigawa, there's an overpayment of 35,000 kwacha. And also number 27, there's also an overpayment there. Would the CS indicate to us what led to these overpayments of projects? I note that all these projects have been completed, and they are in their defect liability period. Did you retain some funds in case of any defects during this period? Chair, that is my first observation. I have another observation for Adiodio, construction of Adiodio number 24. I note that this one you've indicated is not complete. And of particular interest, Chair, I want to know the works which are remaining. Before you go away, you can see they have paid out of the contract sum. They have paid, the contract is 552. They have since paid 540. Okay? So I would like to know, your committee chair would like to know what works are remaining. Do we have any money as retention against any defects, even on this one? I submit, Chair.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Just like what the Honorable has observed here, when we look at the prices, I would say, Chair, all these were estimates before you start the project. Just like what the Honorable has mentioned of the overpayment, but there are also projects which are underpaid. So all these projects which were overpaid, we had variations. When we start working on the same projects, we discover that in the process, the price keep on fluctuating. So we took note of such, Chair. Instead of leaving the project in suspense or incomplete, we took the matter to the CDFC committee and they approved the variations. So on all these projects which you've seen overpayment, there are variations attached. I hope you have those variations. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Yes, on the same for Dr. Manza.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to make a follow-up on the same project ledger. Further to the question of the Honorable, that almost all the projects, I think 3/4 of the projects, capital projects, have a budget overrun. They need to be supported by variation orders, which are not here. And then of particular concern is the retention on the completed projects. I did a calculation on each project, and I see that the balance is less than what is retained is less than the stipulated amount. It is less than 10%. I can give an example of project number 4. You have only 1.7% remaining. Project number 6, you have only 2% remaining. So the trend shows that the contractors have already been paid the retention monies beside budget overrun. Why is this the case? Would you have now, where are we going to get the funds for correcting the defects on these projects? And then the next question on the same table, which is Appendix 4. There's an item on radio station. Bubu has paid 514,000. If you go to Appendix 4, the first table. So the second page has a payment of the tune of 514,500, and you have a retention of the balance of 6,428. Also, I found out in the ledger that Vubi Council also paid for equipment to this radio station to an amount of 390,000 kwacha. Does Vubi own a radio station? And if so, if you don't own the radio station, under which category of the CDF components did you fund this radio station? Is it on bursaries, skills, or under community projects, or which category? If it is whatever category, was it applied for by the WDC?
Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just explain part of it here, then I'll take it to my director works to explain. The radio station chair was part of the application from the community projects. So this radio station was done under community project, and the chair, the reason for coming up with radio station, we have a problem involved in disseminating information. For instance, when you see even on the bursaries, we have a lot of the difference of their money which is allocated to the bursaries and what we actually get from the borders is very minimal. So the community project is of useful. The community radio station is very useful to the district. So it was done under community project, and once it was complete, it was given back to the community. There's a committee which has been formed under that committee, under that radio station. I submit here, then let me just allow the Director of Works to clarify on those variations which have been mentioned by the Honorable MP.
Director of Works.
Thank you, Chair. For Ajojo Primary School, the variation came on its own. It's just unfortunate that we did not attach the minutes, but there were minutes for the procurement committee that was with the procurement committee minutes. We have them, the variation. So the variation came on its own as a payment, which was approved by the procurement committee.
Thank you, Chair, once again. Chair, Chair, I would just want to learn on Appendix 5. Appendix 5, details of the detailed 2022 community projects. Chair, my interest is drilling and installation of water scheme. Number 1, I think you take note. Number 11 there on the projects, drilling and installation of water scheme. The budget was 311,750. You spent the budget was 311,760 kwacha, 750 kwacha. What was spent was 306,442.13. There was a balance of 5,307.87. Was this the retention? That was question number 1, Chair. The other question, Chair, is on number 14, drilling of 2 boreholes at Chandamila and Kayazamila. Chandamila and Kayazamila, 2 boreholes, budgeted for 86,150. What was paid was 51,240. Now, this one, Chair, I want to compare it to drilling of 2 boreholes at Kawiya, number 16. So I want to compare, Council Secretary, number 14, 2 boreholes at Chandamila and Kayazamila, amounting to, we budgeted 86,150. The number 16, again, drilling of 2 boreholes, 16, at Kawiya, budgeted for 43,075, and you spent 25,620, a balance of 17,445. How would you compare 2 boreholes which were budgeted for 86,000, and these other at Kawiya 2 boreholes budgeted at 43,000 kwacha, Chair? The last one, Chair, is the motor grader. Procurement of a grader. You budgeted to procure this grader at 2,881,164.84. You paid 2,872,110 with a balance of 9,054 kwacha 84. What is this balance? How would you explain this 5,000 kwacha? And have you procured this grader? Is it in Vubwe? I submit, Chair.
Council Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Let me respond part of the question from the Honorable Nyambose. Then I'll allow my treasurer and probably the Director Works to clarify more. Chair, I will start with a grader. When we look at the grader, the amount which was budgeted for, Chair, was more than what was acquired. We acquired less than what was budgeted. Just like I said, Chair, when we budgeting, we look at the estimate. Usually the estimate and the actual, they usually balance. The balance could be favorable or unfavorable depending on what is happening. Then the variance, the differences are reported to the CDF committee. These are the ones which we take to the CDF committee. If they are more than what was stipulated, then the surplus would go to other projects. Maybe let me just allow Director of Works, I don't know whether I can start with Treasurer to explain on the amounts which have been quoted on the drilling of boreholes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. On the boreholes, I think I must mention on the number 16, Kawia, it was actually one borehole. I think there was a typing error there. Yes, now the explanation is that when you look at all these boreholes, we had one supply. It was one supplier who installed all these boreholes. And as such, since according to the approval, the amounts that we had to open the different ledgers because they were approved individually. However, whatever balance remains, it was at the time, as at 31st December, this was a work in progress. The time we did this report, that's the amount that we had paid to the contractor as part of the work, and the works were all ongoing, and they have now been completed. So the balance, when you look at the balance, I think it has just been posted evenly to the different projects for the sake of ledger, but it was one supply.
Yes, yes. So you've actually accounted for this through provision of a ledger. I'm just interested on the format of your ledger. Go to Appendix 4. Just take any of these ledgers, like the first one, 5% disaster component. So a ledger has date and has got details. And then is it drawn or debit, and then credit and so on. But I look at the details part. Is it just payment? Is this a standard way of presenting a ledger?
Chair, we have taken note of that. As the system that we were using in 2022, which is Baxel, the ledgers were being generated and consolidated in one system, and they were coming out in that format. However, 2023, we procured a different type of accounting software, which is Baxel, which shows all these detailed ledgers. Because we noticed that the way it was summarizing, there was an issue there, as taken note. It was just giving the totals of everything. It would lump everything that has been paid to a consolidated account, and that's why we had that change in 2023.
Okay. Honorable Shagafosa.
Chair, I wish to find out how much do you normally retain as your as percentage for your defects liability period?
Thank you, Chair. Can I go ahead to respond?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, normally the retention is 5% of the project. Maybe let me just allow the Director of Works to amplify on this one, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Well, in the project, we normally retain 5% of the contract sum, which is only paid after, if it's construction works, we normally put it at 1 year. Then if it's a completion project, it's 6 months. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Chair. Why I asked is, I think earlier I was looking at those overpayments and you said you had varied the contracts. Do you have any evidence to submit here that you varied these contracts so that we can know the new figures and compare the retention at 5%?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On this one, I can confirm with me to say we haven't come with those, but we can easily forward them when we go back. We have got the information on this one, Chair. I submit.
Thank you. Just on the same, before we lose touch, your explanation that almost all these capital projects, these community projects, there's a budget overrun. Your explanation is that at the time of procurement, your budgeted price happens to be less than the actual prices that contractors provide. But do you, at the time of designing and coming up with a BOQ and coming up with a budget estimate, do you utilize the resources called the MPI? Have you heard about it? Quarterly monthly price indexes. And it is very important that the variation, we need to know the source of variation, because if it is as a result of works omission, it is justifiable. But if it is just as a result of price fluctuations, which we are able to trace, it is justifiable. But why specifically did you leave out the typical details of a variation to justify the variation? Because it is worrying that all these projects have overshot your budget, including your administration cost, which must be very much predictable. The administration cost on the same Appendix 4, you can see the administration component. You have overshoot. You've completed everything, and you have overshot by 46,000 kwacha. Was administration cost was non-predictable as well in terms of pricing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The observation of the Honorable MP are very valid. And what I would say, Chair, on the overrun of maybe administrative component, what was happening, Chair, you would find that these projects were overlapping into the following year. So when you reach the end of the year, you only present what you have at the bank. And some of the administrative components were carried for the following year. I submit, Chair. Then on these variations, Chair, I must mention to you, like I said earlier on, to say we haven't come with this information, but we have all the records. We can easily provide them, Chair. This is our weakness. We submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a question on page 3 of the report, Chair. Yes. The query is non-operational cooperatives. Chair, 4 cooperatives got amounts to the totaling 130,000 kwacha, and the said cooperatives are Sorokoto Multipurpose Cooperative, Mbande Youth Multipurpose Cooperative, Chifunigo Multipurpose Cooperative, Chigozo Multipurpose, totaling 130,000. If you look at the table there, Chair, the comments are that the business activities no business activity at the place of operation at the time of visit. I want to ask the first question. Is it a visit by external auditors, or it is a visit by the technical monitoring team? That is my question, number 1. Chair, the query is non-operational cooperatives. Now, look at the management's response, Chair, and permit me to read this response. Management wishes to acknowledge the auditor's findings and wishes to report that during the time of audit, the cooperatives were struggling and could not favorably compete in their respective business lines, particularly the 3 poultry projects located in the borderline were forced to sell their chickens at a lower prices against the normal market price. Chair, here the management is saying that the cooperatives were selling their chickens at a lower price. But the issue here, Chair, and the management's confirmation through the table is that there were no business activities at the time of operation. Now, management response is opposite to what they have said. Council Secretary and the team, would you help this committee to actually clear this point raised by auditors that there were no operations in the cooperatives mentioned herein?
Council Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. And the concern of the Honorable MP is taken. Chair, what happened? This monitoring was done by the Auditor General. When the Auditor General team went on the ground, this is what was obtaining. So what happened after the monitoring, we went on the ground to specifically follow up on this matter, Chair. And this is what we found on the ground is that the businesses were very slow. Maybe I would allow me, Chair, for me to call the DPO probably to explain what was on the ground. I submit, Chair.
So implying before the auditors, you have never visited the place.
Okay, Chair, I must mention to say we did visit the place, but if this one was not maybe taken into consideration, this was a weakness.
What report do you have yourself after visiting the place? What report do you have?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, Chair. Maybe allow me to allow the DPO to.
No, I'm still talking to you because when the auditors went on the ground, they didn't find anything. But you said you have been going there. So what report do you have yourself?
Okay. Yes, what it is, when the reports that we have and what was prevailing on the ground at that time was different. What was prevailing is there was nothing, when you just visited, there was nothing which was taking place, but we went further to find out why things were not happening. And this is what we discovered to say the business was very slow. Some of the commodities were purchased and others, maybe DPO Chair would give a very practical example.
DPO, explain, because the auditors went there, they didn't find anything. So your CS is saying you went there before the auditors. So furnish us with the report that you got first.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chair. Before the auditors went on the ground, we did monitor these groups, and particularly as well, we indicated they were having challenges in them implementing.
Just there, DPO, you have your report, isn't it? With you there.
The monitoring report, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
You have a report?
It's attached in the appendix.
Appendix what? When were you
Appendix
audited?
1 and 2.
When were you audited, Council Secretary?
We were audited towards we were audited in October, Chair.
In October?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, you can continue. I just want to look at your report.
I was saying in appendix 1 and 2, Chair.
Okay. When specifically were you audited? You said in October. When? Do you know the date? In October?
We were audited, it was in October. They were at our district for 2 weeks.
Yes, like from which day to which day? Which year?
For 2022, Chair.
2022?
Yes.
And
we are audited the following year, meaning last year, 2023.
Yes. They came October 2023.
Yes.
Is it end of October or at the beginning of October?
It was at the beginning. Chair, I'm just consulting with my treasurer is saying
this one
in the first week and second week, Chair.
Or the first week, and then you produce your report on the 13th of October, which is the second week.
Yes.
Me, I'm looking for a report before. You don't have it.
Okay, Chair, there is something which the DPO is saying to clarify on the same appendix.
DPO.
It's in appendix 1, Chair.
That's what I'm looking at. Monitoring report, which was done on the 13th of October,
2022.
2022.
Yes.
That was your report.
Yes.
And you didn't find anything.
We did find something there, but the business was slow. as
Yeah,
indicated.
DPO, I want you to move with us slowly, the committee. This was 2022 when we went there. A year later, the auditors came and found nothing. Not that the business was slow. Look at the table that my colleague is asking. Who asked that question? It's on, yes. What is there, Honorable Nyambos, when the auditors went there?
They found non-operational
Yes. What did they find?
Yeah, they found non-operational cooperatives.
Number one.
Number one,
yes.
Sorokoto Multipurpose Cooperative. There was no business activity at the place of operations at the time of visit. 40,000 kwacha.
That was just there, Honorable. Thank you very much. That was a year after the council went there and found something is happening. A year later, there is nothing completely. Are you being realistic? If we send the auditors to come back there, will they find that in 2022 up to 2023 October there was something that was happening? I can see the treasurer. You are not the when we didn't find anything. I'm saying if you send to them, we get that report. Cap 12 will not be applied on you. Are you sure, treasurer? Where did the business that was happening, where did it go when they went? Because it disappeared. That's what the report is saying. Okay.
Help you, Chair. We can go to the same minutes where the depot can take us particular observations or what they found using the 30th August 2022, because we are speaking to 4 cooperatives having no activity. They said that they had a monitoring report. Can you take us to which minute number or head is speaking to the 4 cooperatives, DPO, for the chair to and the team to be, the committee to be satisfied?
Chair, it's Appendix 3.
Appendix 3.
Yes, they said Appendix 1 and the minutes for August.
So now we're going to 3. Yes, on Appendix 3. DPO. Honorable Simon.
Thank you very much, Chair. Non-operation of cooperatives. I want to know what is the current status of these cooperatives, and what has the local authority done to the non-existence? Because if they are not operating, it means they are not there. Is there any step that you have taken towards these 4 cooperatives that you gave 130,000 kwacha?
Yeah, on the same report, Appendix 3. What was the date of this monitoring report?
Good one.
Chair, that one was done on 21st December 2023 after the audit.
2023?
Oh, no. December 21st December 2023, yes, sir.
2023?
Yes.
After the auditors?
After they went to make a follow-up.
Yes, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to echo your point. You asked a very straightforward question, Chair, to indicate before the auditors show us a report that you went and found the activities. First, they referred to the August one, which was not speaking to the same. Then he refers us to Appendix 3, which was done after the audit. So, Chair, he is misleading this committee. And he has, I don't know, Chair, I can leave it there because it's quite misleading. Confirming that they do not do any desk appraisal before giving these loans, and they don't do any monitoring, Chair, as suspected by this committee.
Yes, on the same. Yes, on the same.
Thank you, Chair. On the same monitoring and evaluation report, which is a very, very important report, actually, to give information on how the cooperatives are performing. The monitoring and evaluation report, page 8 of 9, which is under Appendix 1. So, Council spent time and in fact administration costs were paid to the members of the monitoring and evaluation team, and they came up with this report, of which these cooperatives that are in this report are not even speaking to these cooperatives that are non-operational, and somewhere you're talking of them doing trading at the border, exchange rate, something like this. So why is it misleading that the information that you gave from the field does not speak to what the auditors picked? And okay, then I take advantage of this same report. This club called Pemba Moyo Youth Cooperative, which is on page 7 of 9. This Pemba Youth Cooperative, I noticed with keen interest that at the time of monitoring, the club did not have its own poultry house, but instead they used one that belonged to a committee member. I want to seek guidance. What do the guidelines talk about CDF committee members benefiting from grants or loans? Are they eligible? And is this also, because here it testifies that they were using the poultry house for a committee member. Now this committee member, is he part of the club that benefited the 40,000 from the 40,000? And also this club was treated in a special way, in the sense that you came up with a policy that those that applied for poultry, they would get 25,000. And those that applied for piggery, they'll get 30,000 kwacha. This club was given 40,000 kwacha. In addition, the club members, one of the members, is a committee member of the CTF.
Okay. Council Secretary?
Thank you, Chair. I must just clarify on the concerns of the Honorable MP here. A CDF committee member is not supposed to benefit directly from the grants or even the loans. So on this one, the member in question is a member of the committee and not the committee for that
the cooperative.
Cooperative is a cooperative.
Not it belongs to the cooperative.
Exactly.
The owner of the premises.
Exactly, Chair.
Okay.
He's not a member of the CDF committee. So a CDF committee cannot benefit.
Okay, now what was, is it because he belongs to that, because the amounts that the committee or the CDF committee agreed was 25, and this particular one is given 40,000?
Chair, I've come with my socio-economic planner. I think maybe allow me him to explain on what transpired.
Socio-economic planner? Oh, you want to add there?
Yeah, maybe as the socio-economic planner comes, would you also assist me which part of the guideline excludes CDF committee members only benefiting from personal loans and also being part of the cooperatives? Just for my knowledge, Chair.
Yes. Socio-economic plan?
Chair. There's a part in the CDF guidelines that talks about disallowable expenditure and allowable expenditure. That part further goes on to restrict all members in the judiciary, in the legislature, and in the public service from participating in the provision of goods and services in the CDF. They are not allowed to trade or supply goods and services. So that there's that restriction automatically. So just as the CS said, that is the committee member and that is the chairperson of that respective club who had felt that there was need to support the cooperative by giving out his own poultry house at the moment. He needed to support the committee, of which we had to give a resounding warning to say, no, going forward, you need to come up with your own poultry house. That is to answer the question. Then on the monitoring, what we need to understand is that there are two monitorings that were done. There's one.
No, not that phrase, eh? Not that phrase. That what we need to understand. It's like the members don't understand.
My apologies.
These are reading. They have their own constituencies and they have committees like your committee. They have officers like you. So you can only say, no, the method that we used is not what you need to understand. It's like you don't understand what you want to tell us.
My sincere apologies.
As a lecturer, no? Okay, what else you want to explain? What you want to explain? There was a question of the funds, 25 and 40. Don't miss that as well. Yes, Honorable Sir.
He has talked of the judiciary, has talked of civil servants, but I'm looking at the committee members. The part of the guidelines that excludes them, because these are not civil servants. You have talked about judiciary and others, but I'm talking about what excludes them from participating in CDF and also joining cooperatives, being active members of the cooperatives.
Chair, allow me to just explain what I meant when I said they are not supposed to participate directly. Chair, what I meant is just like a member of a procurement committee, we've got outsiders. So there is a conflict of interest. If, for instance, a member of that committee directly benefits, that will trigger on the conflict of interest. So what I exactly meant was a direct, for instance, the chair of the CDF committee cannot award himself as a chairperson of that committee a contract. That's what I meant, Chair.
Yes.
CS, you are a technocrat, and such matters, when the public are listening, we must speak to them professionally. A CDF chairman, how can he award himself a contract when does he sit in the procurement committee? It's purely a technical committee of you technocrats. And the guideline is that, yes, a member may benefit as long as they declare interest in writing. I think let's put things as they are, and unlike where we should mislead people. A member is able to benefit as long as they put it in written to say, I'm applying for this particular thing. And if at apprehension, the CDF is sitting, they're supposed to walk out of that meeting and not participate. That is the correct position.
Chair, I agree with the observation of the Honorable. I think this is the way to go. I with it, so Chair.
Yes, yes. There are questions they hasn't answered. I hope not to. Yes, planner.
Thank you so much for the guidance, Chair.
Yes.
Chair, I wish to request that we go to Appendix 2. Appendix 2, that is page 1. Appendix 2.
Yes.
The report on the financial literacy. Chair, what was there is that for 2022, we had a total number of 60 clubs that benefited from the empowerment funds in Vubwe. So how this happened, Chair, is that the funding was done in phases. So the CDFC committee, upon receiving the CDF funds, under phase 1, we started with funding only 12 cooperatives. That is quarter one. That is number 1 up to 12, Chair. As you can see, there are 40,000 There are these huge allocations.
Yes.
Then going forward in quarter two, that's when there was that pressure from the committee. The committee felt that there were only a few beneficiaries. Therefore, the change in the plan, therefore the change in the strategy, as we explained even earlier. So these findings were done at separate intervals as and when the funds were provided by the ministry. So the first part was 40 days throughout. Then the pressure now to change, to adjust the prices, happened in quarter two going forward. Thank you so much, Chair.
Before you go away, the question was, there is one particular cooperative or club, because when you look at the clubs here, they are mostly 25,000 kwacha each for poultry, but that one was given 40. That's why we are asking. Why was that particular cooperative given more money, which you did not agree as a committee?
Thank you so much, Chair. The one that is being referred to is Sorokoto Cooperative.
Yes.
That had received the 40,000.
Yes.
That was during the first phase of the funding, Chair, when the decision had not yet been made by the CDFC committee.
To reduce.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yes, sir.
Chair.
We need to end up.
Yeah, just a word. My observation, Chair. All these reports, they are not doing monitoring and they are doing things wrongly. Council Secretary and your team, are you aware you are part of Zambia? If you are part of Zambia, there is need for you to do correct things. When you look at all this, it seems because that's why we are even quoting the Malawian currency. You think you are in Malawi. Because what you are doing here is contrary to the regulation, Chair. They cannot procure a desk at 2,200 and what? Which is a way. You communicate to your friends. And all these things, giving 130,000 kwacha to cooperatives that are manufacturing, and many things. I want to appeal to you. The same law that applies everywhere. It will visit you. What you are doing is wrong in VUB. You are part of this country. Don't think that you're not part of this country. And this mirrors you, your personalities. If you are the ones who are doing this, it tells what type of officers you are. Because one of you could have advised the other. Data, procurement, DPO, to save these minutes. I'm not speaking to what we are referring to. You have alerted a friend that is doing what you are doing. So before the chair runs up, I've noted the chair with concern that what you are doing, even what the socio-economic player is answering, he's not answering the question, Chair. He's not. So I'm very
question. Yes, Honorable. Just a short one.
Yes, just a short one, Chair. Chair, I'm very happy that the CSF of Vogui and his team are answering very courageously and so calm, even when there are a lot of irregularities in their council, depicting that actually these irregularities are planned irregularities by the CS and his entire team. For example, Chair, the overpricing, the overpayments, overshooting the budget, all this, Chair, directs to either corrupt practices or conniving with the suppliers to do such kind of activities. Now, Chair, the outcome of this, Chair, is denying the services that the government needs to take to the people. For example, already on the desks, you can see there is a deficit of, there is an overpayment of almost 1 million kwacha. That can construct 2 staff houses, which this council will chair. The 3 staff houses for civil servants, which this council chair, Vobi Council, we can say has gone in unknown. Only them can explain where such overpayments are going to. This is working against the government of the day. And if every council is to behave like this, Chair,
We can say even the increase in CDF, that is the main purpose of the president to increase the CDF to provide the service to the people. Council officers like these people are working against the government. They are working against the presidential directives. Chair, this council chair needs to be looked into seriously. I submit.
Yes, yes, Honorable.
On the cross-cutting findings, page 4, budget performance.
The short one,
You are showing that the 1,741,493 was the retention from the 2021 and the 2022 projects. I want your confirmation. This amount of money that was brought forward, was it retention on the 2021 projects? Because if it is retention, you just confirmed that the retention is 5%. So which means you must have 95% as a money spent on the community projects funded from 2021 to 2020, 2021. So is this amount as is it retention?
Okay, thank you. Running out of time. Yes.
CS, are you in charge? Thank you.
Council Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. On the 1.747493, Chair, part of this is retention and part of it is payments for those projects which were still running. Then coming to the question from the Honorable MP to ask me if I'm in charge, Chair, I must say yes, I'm in charge. And we are going to work on our weakness which have been observed here. And probably when we come next time, Chair, it will be a different story. I submit.
We Town Council, we want to appreciate your appearance, but we want to indicate to you that your report is below the acceptable standards. And, you know, your responses to various questions that the members sought clarity, indicating that to some extent you are to blame. And you should not suggest that you are beneficiaries in all these things. It should not be suggested like that. Because if you say this year you are selling a desk at 2,200 and the next year you want to drop it to 1,500, yet you paid. So who bears that difference? Who is supposed to pay that money? In which you are allowed and which was not supposed to be. We should know that even as you come here, we have more information than what you put on the document. We have more information. That to some extent, there are officers, not only in Ivugwe, but in most cases, including Ivugwe inclusive, that you officers would want to benefit on every project. At times, this is the reason as to why you delay them. And not your words, but your reports from the Auditor General's office speaks louder. So we are closely following every local authority. You come here with explanations. Yes, we explain. We will hear, we will listen. But you will not convince us to fall into whatever you are explaining. Service delivery. And there we are entrusted as technocrats to take development to Vugwe. Vugwe is supposed to be developed by you. And this is the reason as to why government has given you the monitoring vehicle, has given you the administrative component, has given you the CDF. But you will stay for a year without doing anything, and then you want to do things when the auditors have gone through. We'll make our recommendation regarding your report, and you know you'll be appearing before this committee soon. We want to see an improvement from your report, and you should work on your weaknesses and work together. From what you are depicting now is that there is uncoordinated, responses coming from you. So we wish you well as we withdraw the immunity that was conferred on you and allow you to travel back to Vui. Thank you very much. You are free to leave.